All right, question 1 tells us that 1 inch on a map equals 5 miles, and that can be written as a ratio, right? 1 inch for every 5 miles. Apparently 2 cities are 8 inches apart on a map, and they want to know what the actual distance is. So if 1 inch is 5 miles in real life, then they say 8 inches are essentially how many miles, right? So we can set up a simple proportion. We can ask ourselves, well, how do I get from 1 to 8? And you would therefore multiply by 8. And whatever you do to the top, you've got to do the same thing to the bottom, right? Times 8 times 8. So 5 times 8, 40 miles. There you go. Question 2. Hopefully you've read this by now. It says that the number of squares represents the x values, right? So x is essentially 2 because there are 2 squares. The number of ovals is represented by the y value. If you count up the ovals, you'll eventually get 10. So y is 10. And as we know, in any proportional relationship, the constant of proportionality is going to be y divided by x, right? So if we take 10 and divide by 2, you'll have your answer. All right, y is 10, x is 2. 10 divided by 2, which equals 5, or 5 over 1. This would be the best answer and the only answer for that problem. Question 3. You're able to go 8 miles per hour at a steady rate, and they want to know what equation represents the proportional relationship between the x hours that you bike and the distance y in miles that you travel. Well, in any proportional relationship, it is represented by this equation, y equals mx. And m is the constant of proportionality. It is the unit rate, right? And they give us a unit rate in the very first sentence. You bike 8 miles per hour. So that unit rate is 8 miles per 1 hour. So that right there needs to be an 8. Y equals 8x. All right, it's literally as simple as that. You just kind of need to memorize that. All right, y equals 8x. 8 is the constant proportionality. That's the unit rate. And really, if you think about it, x is the hours that you bike. So say you bike 1 hour, that'd be 1 times 8. And that would tell you the distance in miles that you've actually traveled, right? 1 times 8 would be the distance you traveled, which would be 8 miles. All right. Question 4. Find the constant of proportionality. Constant of proportionality, as we know, is y divided by x. So you simply take y, 90, and you divide it by 5, which is x. So 90 divided by 5 will give you your answer here, which will be 18 if my math is correct, right? 18 over 1, or 18 right there. And that will work for all of these. 108 divided by 6 will also give you 18. And that'll work for the rest of this table as well. And that's why it's proportional. Same exact type of problem, right? The ratio of y divided by x is the constant of proportionality. And they want to know what goes here, essentially. So take your y value, which is 12, and divide that by your x value, which is 3. 12 divided by 3 can be reduced down to 4 over 1. And that is right here. Second option. And that's true for the entire table. 16 divided by 4, that's 4. 20 divided by 5, that's 4. 24 divided by 6, that's 4. Oh my, same situation right here, right? Decide whether this entire table shows a proportional relationship. Y divided by x is the constant of proportionality. That's what m is. So we take 25, which is our y value. And when y is 25, x has to be 5 in this situation. So 25, our y value, divided by 5 will give us 5. Great. But we want to see, does that work for the entire table? So we would take 30, our y value, divided by 6. 30 divided by 6. Is that 5? Yes, it is. Is 35 divided by 7 5? Yes, it is, right? And then lastly, 40 divided by 8 is 5. Therefore, if these numbers are the same for the entire table, that means this is a proportional relationship. That's the constant of proportionality. In your equation, that would be right there. Your unit rate, your constant of proportionality, m. All right. Question 7, does this graph show a proportional relationship, or which of the graphs shows one? Well, as you know, any proportional relationship has to be two things, right? It's got to be a straight line, and it also has to run straight through the origin, which is right here. And the only one that does that is this right here, right? That's not a straight line, and this one does not go through the origin. Therefore, that's wrong, and this is wrong. That's the correct answer, A. Question 8. What's the constant of proportionality? Which is something you have to memorize. Y equals mx. M is the constant of proportionality. It is the unit rate, as you'll find out soon, and certainly in 8th grade, it's also the slope of the line. It's what makes the line steeper or less steep when you look at it, right? So M is the constant of proportionality. What is it? It's right here. It's 9. Just something you have to memorize. It's the number that gets multiplied by x to give you y. So 9. Enter only a number, just enter 9. There it is. This question, what does the point 35, 315 represent? You always go right or left first. That's the x value. And then you go up or down for the y value anytime you are graphing, x comma y. So from the origin, we're going to go right 35, which would be to about here. And then we're going to go up 315, which is about right here. And they're wondering, what does that point actually represent? Well, that means in 35 minutes, right? In 35 minutes, how far or how many calories can we burn? About 315 calories burned, right? So we want to know which of these actually makes sense. 35 minutes. There's 35 minutes and 315 calories burned in 35 minutes. That's the only one that actually makes sense. So that's your answer. Question 10. Simple proportion. I'm going to give you 2 ways to solve this. The first way is super crazy easy. These are equivalent fractions. You have both denominators. You can ask, how can I get from 4 to 8? And you can multiply by 2, right? You're always either going to multiply or divide. You're never adding. You're never adding. You're never subtracting. It's always multiplying or dividing. So if you multiply by 2 on the bottom, you have to do the same thing to the top. So therefore, 3 times 2 would give you your answer of 6. That's one way to solve this, but we also need you to know how to solve this using algebra. So I'm going to rewrite the same exact problem, and I'm going to do this using algebra so that we all understand. You ask yourself, if I need to find x, I need to ask myself what is actually happening to x right now. It's being divided by 8. And in order to get x by itself, we want to do the opposite of what's being done to it right now. So the opposite of dividing by 8 is multiplying by 8. And you must do that to both sides of the equation. You can't just make one side 8 times bigger. You got to make the other side 8 times bigger as well. And when you're multiplying fractions, you can turn 8 into a fraction on both sides. And as you know, when you're multiplying fractions, that's no problem. Just the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom. So 8 times 3 is 24. And then over 1 times 4 is 4. Bring your equal sign straight down. X divided by 8 times 8 is just simply x, all right? That's why we did that. We got rid of the divided by 8 by multiplying by 8. So you just have x, and then x is equal to 24 over 4. X is equal to, therefore, 6, because 24 divided by 4 is 6. And you get the same answer that we got earlier, right? But that's how you use algebra to solve the problem. Question 11. Is this a proportional relationship? Does this table show a proportional relationship? So let's check it out. Anytime you see a table, more often than not, the x value is going to come first and the y value is going to come next. All right? And any proportional relationship with the constant proportionality being y divided by x will be the same for the entire table. So we want to take our y value of 21 and divide it by our x value of 6. So 21 divided by 6. Wow, I don't have a calculator with me. I'm a terrible person. That's going to be 3 and what was that? 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, right? Yes, yes, sorry. Okay, very good. That's going to be 3.5. If you take 28 and divide it by 8, 28 and divide it by 8, 8 goes into 28 3 times, and you're left with, what, 8 times 3 is 24. You need 4 more to get to 28. That's also equal to 3.5. And I should have used the calculator. I'm a terrible person. No, you're not. It's okay. You're okay, Mr. Martin. We're doing the third one. 35, the y value divided by 10. 35 divided by 10. That's actually an easy one. 35 divided by 10, that is 3.5. If you know much about dividing things by 10, moving the decimal point one place to the left. So that's correct. And then we want to make sure this last one works as well. So it's 49 divided by 14. 49 divided by 14. 14 goes into 49. What would that be? 3 times. The denominator is still going to be 14. 14 times 3 is 42. In order to get to 49, you got to add 7 more, and that 7 is half of 14, so that is also 3.5. So you get 3.5 for everything. Therefore, yes, this is proportional. Sorry that took so long. All right, question 12. Here we go. Does this equation show a proportional relationship? Well, yes, it does. I mean, it's a simple. No.